Warning. This podcast contains spoilers for the film Midsommar. Prior to seeing Midsommar, please ensure if viewing with a significant other they are not angry with you because you will die. But if you want to get an earful of how this movie scared the bejesus out of me, and the fantastic voyage of one very angry, very short man with perpetual blue balls, put your feet up and enjoy. Door closes behind you. Ahead of you, a long corridor strewn with filing cabinets. As you walk this poorly lit hall, you find the cabinets open. And in these cabinets, carefully organized folders seem to rise to greet you. Contained herein are stories meant to entertain, inform, and chill you to your very core. These are the What the Fuck Files. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the maiden voyage of the What the Fuck Files. I'm your host, keeper of the file room keys, and preserver of all things dark and dingy, Mike, and I am broadcasting to you live from the secret repository of the universe's dirty secrets, aka my apartment. Now, guys, I want to first say that if you're going to see a movie, and that movie is only available in another part of your city, and you go to that theater, and you're told it's all the way up, and you have to climb every escalator, navigate every twist, every turn to get to said theater, do not be pudgy. I made it all the way up there drenched in sweat, and not even sexy buff dude on the beach sweaty. I was a fat dude brushing his teeth on the sun, sweaty, and when I got to that theater with my $5 bottle of water dripping sweat, the only thing going through my mind was, this fucking movie better be the shit! I climbed all the fucking way up here with no nachos and a bottle of fucking water! Ooh, if there's not tits and explosions, I'm fucking leaving! And then I realized I wasn't watching a Michael Bay film, and I sat back, and by the end of it, my fat, angry side was satisfied like somebody fed me the finest fried chicken in all the land. First of all, I'm just going to come out and say it. For the past couple of years, horror has sucked. All the horror genre has been lately has been rehashings of the classics. Your Nightmare on Elm Streets, your Halloweens, your Friday the 13th, with a couple of gems like Hereditary, Annabelle, and The Conjuring sprinkled in for good measure. For the most part, however, every fucking horror movie has followed the same goddamn tired tropes over and over again, and we, like baby calves suckling at Mama Bessie's teat for the first time, you fuckers ate it up. And I will not stand here, however, and bash the work of Rob Zombie, Wes Craven, and the rest, but come the fuck on. How many horny teens go off into the woods and get drunk and are pursued by a psycho movies can people watch without wanting to shove a pencil up their asses to remind them what pain really is? Midsommar changed all of that for me. Midsommar was conceived by the fantastic director Ari Aster after a bitter breakup, and I have to ask, how? How fucking ugly did a breakup like that have to be for you to pen a movie like this? And at the end of the day, if a breakup makes you this fucking creative and loaded with green, a lot of people need to reevaluate the situations they're in. The movie stars Florence Pugh, Florence Poof. I have no idea. I'm fucking terrible with names. As Danny, the frankly emotionally fucked protagonist, and this is another reason this movie killed it to me, isn't a scream queen. Danny, after suffering through extreme tragedy, is invited along by her emotionally distant, I just came here to get pussy, boyfriend Christian, to tag along with his friends to study the solstice festival of their buddy's commune in Sweden. And you can already feel the Manson family vibes bubbling up to the surface. And let's just talk about Pell for a second. You got the long, scraggly hair, the beard that's closely shaven, but not close enough to make him a metrosexual douchebag, and those piercing, soul-dead eyes, and you know what? Not for nothing, if I were a down-and-out teen girl in the 60s, I'd have carved an X into my head, banged him, and murdered a producer's wife all before lunch. Anyway, as Pell is guiding them to the village, they make a stop, as one often does when bored and in the sticks, to get shrooms, and Danny, naturally afraid of a bad trip, asks to wait it out so she can get used to the climate. And one thing leads to another, and boy, oh boy, does she have a bad trip, where she sees her dead sister. I mean, hey, we've all been there. Danny wakes up 6 full hours later, and they make it out to Pell's village. The group finally reaches Pell's village, and every piece of it, every ounce of cinematography in the movie is absolutely beautiful, and the people strangely built to the point Dr. Seuss himself would jizz with glee at the sight of. The slanted roofs, the funny clothes, the cat in the hat masturbating furiously in the background of every shot. The group finds themselves greeted by the village elders, who are accommodating and polite to the point of unnerving. Which led me to the realization that Swedes are essentially Europe's answer to Canadians. I can only imagine that in the meeting to decide where white people should go, the argument came up. Canada was full, and there was a surplus of super polite white people, and somebody said, you know what, just put them in Sweden. It's cold as fuck, just throw them there and they can make Americans equally as uncomfortable. Pell gives the group a tour around their village, followed by Simon and Connie, who were brought to the village by Pell's brother, Ingmar. They go through the village's welcoming feast, and Pell informs them the next day they would start with the Atastupa ritual, and a member of the group looks at Pell as if to say, what the fuck are you kidding me, dude? And the next day they find themselves at a long table where everyone is joined by 2 elder members of the village in blue robes, where they begin yet another feast. The couple in the robes gets up and starts speaking in tongues. Whoop, whoop, whoop. They pretty much sounded like the backing track to a Nicki Minaj song. And men take them in chairs where they're carried off like grooms at a Jewish wedding. The group finds himself at the base of a cliff surrounded by villagers in typical horror fashion. Only one member of the group has the slightest fucking clue of what's going on. Everything seems okay at first. A bit of singing, a bit of prayer. The camera takes you up to the cliffs, where the elders hold their palms out, only to have them slit open by the people carrying the chairs. The old man wipes his blood-stained hands on a rune-inscribed rock, and to the horror of the onlookers, the woman of the pair leaps from the cliff and lands on a circular outcropping of rocks, much to the shock and horror of the group. As if seeing an elderly Swedish lady belly flop off a cliff wasn't bad enough, the old man takes a leap and survives the fall. The villagers break out into hysterical wailing, and a group emerges from the crowd with a gigantic cartoon mallet and proceed to take turns crushing the old man's skull, passing it back and forth between the people in the group, as if they seem to say, well, he survived a fall, here's the hammer, you try to crack his skull. Midsommar is gonna go down for me, at the very least, one of the best, well-executed horror movies of the past 10 years. I felt uneasy 5 minutes into the movie, and as every second passed, I found myself plastered to the edge of my seat, and even though the movie attempts to make me laugh and feel awkward, it only added to that sense of unease and discomfort, and that delicately wrapped package made Midsommar one hell of a horror romp that Alfred the Triple Chin Terror Hitchcock himself would be proud of. And if you want more Midsommar, get your ass to a theater! When I think of litigious jizz buckets who use a pretty shitty situation to capitalize on it and make some money, the internet has vomited up some seriously idiotic people who have done just that. And in 2019, it's absolutely no exception. And thus far, the jizz bucket runneth over with my favorite little angry New Yorker, Chris the Bagel Boss Morgan. For those of you who have been living under a rock and haven't seen the video, that shot little Mr. Morgan from an angry ranting idiot in a bagel shop to the smallest star in the sky, the video showed Chris angrily ranting to several of your typical Ugg boot wearing, Starbucks swilling white girls because of what is an unfortunate double standard of women remarking about how men who are under 6 feet aren't worth it. When the women who say shit like this generally wear enough makeup to weigh down a dying star. He naturally didn't like it, and through his temper tantrum, the classic New York rage came out, yelling and screaming in what seemed like a tantrum that only a lack of Xanax can bring about, and after carrying on interrupted a much taller man, to which little Chris replied, "You want to step outside? I'm not scared! You shut your mouth! You're not God, or my boss, or my father!" And that was when yet another, much larger man bear-hugged him straight into the floor. At first, I thought this dude was a legit sad case of a guy who had zero luck with women. With the internet being what it is, this turd nugget's life has been dug up, and guess what? He ain't no victim! Little Chrissy here has been going around recording himself in stage incidents with people who supposedly talk shit about his height. Now, this dude lives in a van outside the store he got mushed into, and claims he has luck with the ladies after reaching viral superstardom. I mean, I could just imagine his idea of flirting with a woman. Oh, let me tell you, I got one hell of a night planned. We're gonna watch Frankie and Gracie on Netflix, on my Metro PCS phone. We're gonna have spaghetti and my Nana's sauce. Only it ain't my Nana's sauce. It's fucking Heinz ketchup and a little bit of basil. If all things go good, you get a little bit of the sausage. And because I'm a gentleman, I'll take you to the Y to shower. And the best part of being with me, I can always drive you home. And I've seen this dude's personal YouTube channel, and boy, oh boy, is it amazing. The internet hasn't canceled him yet. He's told a Pakistani store clerk to go back to that third world toilet of a country, and because a guy cut him in front of him in the bathroom, he called him a ghetto hood rat piece of shit. He told the award-winning, hard-hitting journalist at TMZ, "I don't trust women. Stop being so fucking stuck up. Stop being so materialistic and stop being so fucking offended when we say, oh, you're beautiful." Little Chris, on behalf of Female Challenge dudes the world over, I want to let you know that women aren't getting offended that dudes are calling them beautiful. They're getting offended that you're calling them beautiful. No woman wants some angry, growling, midget Napoleon Bonaparte-looking motherfucker with a Brooklyn accent going, "I may not be as well equipped as that black dude you were with, but I can make you regret it just as much." And that, ladies and gentlemen, is all we have time for today. This concludes the very first foray into the dark and twisted world of the What the Fuck Files. I am your host and keeper of the keys to the file room, Mike. Tune in next week to hear more dark, disgusting, weird, and mildly arousing tales from the depths of our archives. You can find us on SoundCloud and YouTube. Just look up the What the Fuck Files. See you freaks and geeks next week.